Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Common Man's Compass with David
and Justin. This is a great podcast, guys. It's a podcast navigating life, faith, and everything in between. A conversation where anything goes. You never know what we're going to talk about. There's no telling. But we always try to keep God in it and keep God involved.
And we're glad you're here.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Got an interesting show for y'all today. I got interviewed last time. Today, we've got David, a.k.a. the Weasel, the egg thief himself. He's going to be in the hot seat, getting some of them good old weird questions.
Oh, yeah. I am so glad to be here. I am prepared. I was not yesterday, but, because I was down with the sickness, but they gave me a steroid shot. Thanks. Shout out to modern medicine.
Woohoo!
I feel like I'm 14 again. If I could do a cartwheel, I probably could.
Just break your ankle.
Right.
We'll be going to the hospital.
I probably couldn't even get 2 inches off the ground.
My luck, I'd do a cartwheel and snap my knee in half. Like, we need that surgery now.
I always tell my girls, I can do a cartwheel. Just close your eyes. I'll do it.
That's like whenever you, as an adult, you get on a trampoline and you're like, I remember this. I can totally do this. And then for like the next 2 weeks, you can't walk. Well, I mean, you can, but you look real weird.
You had to play it off like, oh, that didn't bother you.
Yeah.
You're inside, you're crying, going, geez, what was I thinking?
Dude, I did that a couple years ago, man. We had my daughter's birthday party at a jump park, and which I think y'all were there for. And I got on the trampoline, and my cousin got up there because his kids were up there, and my kids, everybody's jumping around, and we were like, heck yeah, we're being kids again, jumping on a trampoline. Bruh, next day, I was like, oh, my back.
I know I was wrestling with my kids, I think it was last year, and my oldest, she reached back and she hit me right in the nose. And when we were kids, when you wrestled around, that's a forbidden, that's when things got real. And then I was like, we need to stop. She's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's all right. We just need to stop.
Yeah.
We need a minute.
Yeah. Dude, I tell you what, man, that's all of us growing up. It's all fun and games until one of you gets hit in the face.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, oh, no. It's on, But, well, shoot, man. Well, I guess we better get on with this. So let's start at the beginning. Where did David start?
I grew up in the big city of Dallas. That's where I was born. But we lived in Lake Dallas. Because my father, he bounced out. My mom said, I'm pregnant. He said, I'm out. And so we moved in with my grandparents that lived in Lake Dallas.
Yeah.
And we lived there, and then we had our places, and we scattered all over the place. But we always eventually went back to Lake Dallas. And then my mom got with my stepdad, who I called Dad. Louis was just a great man. I remember when he first heard about Jesus and about God and getting into it, he ran home like a schoolboy and was like, look, let me tell you about this guy. And so he's the reason I went to church. He's the reason I found God. And so we built this really cool relationship with him learning about God and me learning about God, and we were on the same page of like discovering God. Like, oh, did you hear about this story? It was really cool. And then he did factory work, and they decided to move to Mexico, and he's like, I'm not living in Mexico. That's just not going to happen. And by that time, my grandparents retired, and they moved to a smaller town near where I live now. And my mom, following suit, said, the big city's getting drug infested. There's a bunch of crooked stuff going around. Let's go and venture out there. And so on my sweet 16th birthday, we put everything in the U-Haul and went back to my grandmother where she's originally from. And then I graduated there. And then we moved to this town that's about an hour or two away from there. And I just can't leave this town. I've tried. As soon as I quit college, because I went to college here, I said, I'm gonna go back to the big city. I can't do this small town. That was a roller coaster of a ride, and I quickly came back home. Luckily, I got a job at Walmart, and they helped me encourage that I needed to find something else because I did not care for. It's funny thinking of it now. I did not like the authority that they gave me, so I said I'm logically going to join the military.
Because that's going to be less
Right,
authority.
yeah.
That makes no sense.
I read the pamphlet, and I was like, I could see the world. I can make money. I can do all kinds of stuff. I'm going to join the Air Force.
Totally forgetting about what basic training might be like.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know it at the time, but I had a giant chip on my shoulder. And they really helped take that chip off my shoulder.
I bet so.
I learned real quick within a couple of hours that I didn't know anything, and I just needed to be quiet. And then when I got out of the military, I came back home, and then and I've been trying to leave ever since. But then I met my wife. We actually did move. We went to where her parents live, and we lasted, I think, a year, almost 2 years, and then
Something like that.
and then we came back. Majority of her family lives here. Now, all that lives at her family's, her parents live in this town, and her brother, but he's moving, and
Yeah.
they might be moving. So, but yeah, I've tried to move all over the place. I once tried to convince her to move to Sweden.
I remember.
I watched some YouTube videos. I watched some history on it, and I was like, Scandinavian, yes, that's where I want to go. Go see Denmark, where Hamlet was, thought of. I was like, yeah, and just never fell through.
Well, I'm glad you didn't leave. I wasn't happy when you lived where you moved with her parents.
Right.
Even then, I was like, come back.
And you know what's funny is Shelly even said, you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
You're not going to like it. And I was like, yeah, let's try it. I've always had that adventurous, like.
Yeah. I completely understand ending up back in this same town. It's really a good town. I thoroughly thought I was going to leave this place. Same thing. I tried to move several times. I'm talking smack about, Sweden, but twice I almost moved to Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah, twice. Once before I was married, and then once after with the wife. We discussed it because I've got a friend that lives over there. And he's a cool guy. Shout out to Rod. Love you, Rod. If you listen to my podcast.
We could do
Shout
it.
out.
We could go down there and sell Texas barbecue and make $1 million.
I think that's what he does. he's a chef, so. But no, it's just a good town, man. That the cost of living is really low, and it's a decent sized town. It's not real big. It's not real small. It's kind of a good medium. You don't have to drive more than 15 minutes to get to a restaurant, and that's at the most. That's if you're going to the other side of the town from where you're at. You know?
Right.
Like, it's super nice, and there's lots of stuff to do here. But it's a good place. It's a good place to start a family, and raise a family and raise kids. It's got good schools. It just seems like a decent town.
I think my problem is now I have too many roots in the ground here.
Yes.
That it just doesn't make sense.
I'm glad to be one of your roots.
But I do. I look over and I see like the European culture and I see Asian culture and I'm like, I could still live there. I could.
Right.
I think I could live anywhere. Mainly because I'm a homebody, but I think I could live anywhere.
Yeah. I could believe it. I could see it.
Except like maybe like Latin America, like South America.
Mm-hmm.
It's too hot. Or Africa, it's just too hot.
Yeah.
Like if I had an AC in the shade, yeah, I probably could, but
Well, and I get it. There was at one point I was going to move to Austin. I was long before I started following God. I was partying it up like crazy. And I kept ending up in Austin partying and running around on 6th Street. I could probably tell you what bars have what. Like I was there all the time. And for a while I was like, I'm going to move to Austin. And I'm so glad I didn't, because I've just never been a big city guy. I like small towns.
right, you'd have purple hair and
Now, let's not get that far.
wearing gel sandals.
Yeah. But anyways, so, man, I gotta say that's pretty crazy. It's interesting. So when would you say your life started taking, we'll say, a more positive turn?
A more positive, that would probably be. Now this is getting a little personal, but when I came back from the military, I had a drinking problem, and it caught up with me.
Okay.
And yeah, I went into the work that I was working at, and I was feeling fine. My most of my meals were like a pint of Jack, and then I'd crash out, wake up, drink 2 Monsters,
Yep.
and then go to work. Well, it caught up big time. I clocked in, went to the bathroom, and I woke up in the ER. And they were pumping my stomach, and I had some time to reflect while I was in there. And I swear I heard God's voice saying, "This is the only beginning. This is your path. Your path is destruction. I can grant you a better path and a better life if you just follow me." And I did. I got out of the hospital and went to my apartment, and I threw every bit of my alcohol away. And I didn't touch alcohol for 10 years. And then I went to a wedding, and I was like, I'm going to try. And now it really doesn't have an effect on me. But at the time, I was like, I'm not even walking near a bar. I'm not. And I started following God, and I met my wife like a month or two after that. And yeah, it's really, that's why I say I have to believe in God. There was no one else in that room but me and God.
Makes sense, man. Makes absolute sense. So when now that being said, that as far as your life turned around, when would you say you started actually following God?
When I started following God, I was following God since I was probably 12, but I stopped listening to God when I turned like 16. I think around 16, 17. Maybe a little bit more. But I always kind of had him in the background. Like he was always there. But I didn't start like deep diving following God until till that day. And then when my oldest was born, then I really started taking more of a dive, because I thought I was, but I was just skimming the top. You know, I just read the Bible. I went to church, and I said the right things, and I did the right things, but I wasn't really following or like absorbing what I was listening to.
Well, and it's crazy you would say that. Biblically speaking, I think the Bible talks about our children stepping away and then always coming back. You know, if we've done our job. I'm gonna see if I can look up some stuff here. Let's see. It says in Jeremiah 31:16 through 17 that children will eventually return to their people and God's embrace. It emphasizes faithful training, and you know, and I think it's nuts. And you look over and there's so many people, you know, they grow up in a church and, you know, learn about God and knowing enough, not
Right.
you know, you kids. and then you turn around, and as time progresses, you know, you have your heyday, you have your wild side, you get crazy, you know, party it up and act really stupid.
Right.
And then you turn around and you start getting a little older and realizing that, oh, I am making some mistakes. And you end up coming back to God a lot of times, which is really good. And I say a lot of times, I don't want to include everybody in that, because I can't speak for everybody.
Right.
We do have free will to make the decisions that we want to make. You
Well,
know?
and that's like I was a very angry person, but I never was angry at God, and I know that's what a lot of people were like. Oh, you and God had a falling out, and it's like, no, I just decided I'm going to do it my way. I don't need God to tell me what to do, and I'm going to go my own way, and I'm going to do my own path. You gotta let me do my thing, and I fell flat every time.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that's when I decided to say, all right, my way is crap. I'm going to try it your way. That's when things started clicking. And that's when I was being pushed and urged to, why don't you read the Bible? Well,
Yeah.
and then a couple of years ago, I actually was like, why am I a Christian? You know, it was one of those thought process, like, why do I believe in this way? Why do I prefer this kind of a church over that church? Mm-hmm. And so I started researching different churches and different religions, and it was like, well, now I actually have a good grasp of why I believe the way I do.
Right. That's good, though. That's good. That's a good way to feel about that. It's a good outlook on it. I think life's pretty interesting, especially when you start seeking and looking inside of yourself. Let's see. I do got to ask this just because you said it the other day, and it's on my mind. You were like telling me these colors, and you know, the color of the year. I didn't even know there was a color of the year. I don't get into that stuff that deep. So now, because of that, I gotta know if you were gonna paint your house a color, what would it be?
And I could get away with it, like my wife would have no say in it.
Your wife has no say.
Okay.
Which she has a say. Let me say this clearly, ladies and gentlemen.
Because
your wife should totally have a say. But for instance, let's say she didn't.
So let's see. I would start off in the grand room, in the living room, pearl white with orange carpet. No, I'm joking.
We're going back to the 70s.
I would like to. I like that the beachfront start. So I would probably do whitewash walls, a checkered navy blue couch, some pine wood, like all the trim would be pine wood, and the kitchen would have subway tiles, and it would have more green in there. I would have like green plants. I would leave the cabinets would probably be pine, and I would just have that beachy front look. Now, my kids' room would be Pepto Bismol pink with checkered blue on the bottom. Yeah. It would be like blue and white checkers just to annoy them. The guest rooms would be aka my game room. It would be hunter green walls with the wood trim around it, the smoking chair, and then my bedroom would be Prince purple. I would have purple shag walls and a purple shag ceiling.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, I asked for the color of the house, not every room.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You got deep into that, but that's fine. But golly, man, you get deep into that. See, and I owned a construction business. I don't even get that deep. I'm like, you know what, this will work.
Well, our walls are white now, and I stare at the walls, and I'm like, I don't like it. And we decided on brown. We're doing different tones and different hues of
Is
brown.
that on the inside?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
On the outside, it's going to be yellow and green, but not tacky.
You're gonna paint over my artwork.
Yes. Yes. I'd say that. No, it's
my company. I had actually did the paint work on the outside of this house.
I misspoke. It is going to be green and gray.
Oh, okay.
I forgot. It's yellow now.
Yeah.
And we're changing it to green.
Well, and I do got to ask something else. Here we go. We're going to move on to the next question.
All right.
Because we could get lost in that conversation
Right,
forever.
yeah. Get me on color. I'm there all day.
Oh, dude. Man, we paint. I will say real quick, we did paint a house one time for a lady. She's a super sweet lady, and I straight told her how I felt about the color, but it was her decision. The outside of that house is mustard yellow, with white trim, and the poles on the front of the house are John Deere green.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Now, on the flip side, this house is in the middle of nowhere.
Look for the yellow house.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was my thought. I was like, "Yep, just look for the yellow house. You'll find it. You're not hiding from anybody there. You can see that sucker for miles."
I did see this cute house the other day. They just got done whatever it is, when they fixed it up. Renovated. They so it's white, like the front of the house is white, and the trim is pastel colors.
Okay.
It's like the primary colors, like blue, pink, and yellow and green. And I'm like, man, I love it. I had to go out and look at it. Sorry. Go on with your next question. Like I said, I can be here all day on colors.
Yeah. So, well, all right. So we're gonna get to something a little more close to the heart, a little more touching. What was it like when you found out you were going to be a dad? What was the first thought that ran through your mind? Was it fear? Was it happiness? Was it mixed emotions? And what were you thinking about it?
So, before my oldest was born, we actually had a miscarriage. So I'm going to have to go to that one.
All right.
Because that one, I had so many emotions. I never once thought about fleeing. I never once was like, oh, what are we going to do? It was just like, this makes sense. And I remember when Shelly was telling me that, and I was like, it makes sense. Like this, it just feels like this is the next progression. And, but we weren't married. And, so when we found out, I was excited. I was like, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of the kid. If anything ever happens between us, I'm going to take care of you and I'm going to take care of the kid. Like, that's just, that's what I need to do, because my father heard those words and he left. And I was like, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to take care of that. And then we decided we wanted to go meet her parents because I haven't ever met her parents. And they are great people. They were as excited as we were. But it was funny because at that time I was planning on going to meet her parents to ask them for her hand in marriage. And so it's like, well, and so I had to kind of MacGyver it and was like, I'm not doing this because I got your daughter knocked up. I'm doing this because I truly love your daughter and I want to make it right. And then we had a miscarriage the month later, and he called, and what a dad. He called and was like, so are we still getting married, or was that, like, what's going on with that? I'm like, we're still getting married.
Straight up.
And I respect him for that now's your chance. Are you really going to marry my daughter?
Or are you backing out?
Or are you backing out just because you had obligations? And so we got married. We got married, and I think it was like 6 months later, we were pregnant again.
And what were your feelings then, knowing that you had a miscarriage prior?
I was concerned. I became that paranoid person. I wanted to shrink wrap her and not let her leave the house. I was very cautious. I'm a goofball. I'm always a goofball. And I was very serious, very strict. I made sure people came in the house. They were, are you clean? Are you healthy? Like, if you're not healthy, if you even look like you're coughing, get out of here.
Right.
You know, but everything went fine. And then we had our oldest, and everyone was telling Shelly that this was stressful because she had a really bad pregnancy, and they were like, you shouldn't have any more. We went to go get her tubes tied because that was her decision. I said, I'm not going to tell you no, but I've always wanted more kids. I wanted, kids, but if that's what you want to do, let's go do it. And the doctor said, you're going to have to wait about 8 months. And so
And there's the second one.
And then there's the second. We have what's called Irish twins. They are 11 days shy of a year. And then and she had, again, a really bad pregnancy. But when Madison was born, they did a blood transfusion on her, and then they said, okay, we're going to send you home. Don't go traveling. Well, we went to Fort Worth from where we were at. So she goes home, gets clothes, and went to, which was like 3 hours drive. She got there and collapsed. And so I was bouncing from hospital to hospital through the whole thing. My wife is a wonderful woman, but you're not going to deny her seeing her kid. But we were fortunate with our second child that it went a little bit easier.
Right.
But yeah, I was always ecstatic about it. I've always felt like I should be a dad. I know that sounds weird.
Yeah.
I was one of those strange kids that I honestly wanted kids when I was younger. Then I was like, I would be a good dad. And I think it's because I didn't really have a dad. And I had a stepdad, and I loved him to death, but he didn't really show me, like, manhood. And that's why I wanted boys, because it's like, I'm going to teach my boy how to do things. And then God gave me girls. And so now I'm teaching my girls what I know.
That's pretty cool, man. I can respect that. It's pretty good, interesting feeling being a dad. I remember when my daughter was born, and you sitting there and you're holding this ball of goo, and you're like, oh my God, I'm responsible for this little thing. I cried like a little girl sitting in the nursery holding her, feeding her. And I'll never forget it as long as I live. It was a very, very difficult time for me, but
I remember
I was so happy that I had a daughter. I was a kid in general, and it, so I completely understand. The feeling is crazy. I'll say something. I'm gonna give a shout out to my boy Mike. I love him to death. He's one of my best friends, and he told me some words, and it's some words that you'll understand. We were talking one time about doing things with kids or whatever, and I told him, oh, I understand, and he said, no, you don't. He said, when you have a kid, you'll understand. He said, it's different when it's your kid. I said, oh, okay. And we were just talking about, what it's like raising kids or something, and I didn't have any kids, so, I was just agreeing, but I thought I would understand, but I didn't. And then one day, when I had a little girl, I called Mike, and I said, hey, man. And he goes, what's up? I said, you were right. And it was probably a year after we had a little embryo, but I said, you were right. And he said, right about what? And I told him, he said, man, I totally forgot about that. I said, yep. I said, well, I wanted to call and tell you, I never forgot about it, and you were right. It's totally different. It's crazy, just the feelings of emotion that run through you, and the fear, and it's nuts. And not fear like, oh, I'm afraid of being a dad. Nothing like that.
Right.
It's like you said. I'm so terrified. I feel like they need to be in bubble wrap. What if something happens? I don't have control of the situation, so I can't.
I remember.
There's no bad guy to handle, or
I remember
there's
one
not a
of the
medicine you can take.
one of the first lies I told myself as a parent. I'm not going to say those things my mom used to say. And then here I am. If you do that one more time, and I'm like, oh my God, I sound just like my mother. And then I called my mom and was like, most of those beatings I got as a kid, I deserved those. And I'm sorry. How do you get them from off the ceiling?
Yeah. Well, it's funny, and as our girls grow up, we get to see their change in their attitude and how they act. We talked about that earlier. Oh man. But and you have some good girls, man, and I think you're doing a very good job.
I'm trying, and I'm trying to make it appear like it's easy. That's the trick.
So what are you doing to keep God involved in their life, in yours, and show them a good direction, a good path with that?
So most of my examples is how I behave.
Okay.
So, one of the things that some people look at me like I'm crazy is if I say something out of turn or I'm rude to my kids, I apologize to them, because that's what I feel like God teaches me, that I need to apologize to people, but I also need to receive apologies. If someone's like, "Hey, I was wrong. I was rude to you earlier."
Okay.
And so I try to show them things like that. I show how I treat others, and I try really hard to show them Bible verses, and and taking them to church and getting them involved with church really helps. But sometimes it's hard for me to hey, y'all should check out this Bible verse, because my kids are like, oh, here we go, he's going to preach to us.
I think that's typical at
with any kids. But what's really cool is there's some YouTube videos out there that explain parts of the Bible. I think it's called a Bible Project. They're amazing people. They do animations, and it's like 15 minutes, 30 minutes long, and they do themes of the Bible. So it's like, oh, well, here's something about, like, if you're angry with your sibling, here you go. And it shows like different things. It's a great thing, great tool. And I always tell them that, like, if you have any questions, let's look it up. I kind of use what Lewis did with me. It was like, he would show me a part of it about, like, hey, did you know this guy killed someone with a rock? And like, we would read the story and be like, oh, that's crazy. He's like, yeah. And so I try to encourage them, like, if you find anything that you're having a problem with, like, what is it? Come to me. But I have an open relationship with my kids that we can talk about things.
That's pretty cool. We got 2 more questions.
Okay.
I'm going to say, what is your fondest memory with your children?
My fondest memory with my children? Well, I have a lot. I would have to say when we first went to the ocean, when we went to Port Aransas, my kids are kind of scaredy cats, but I took a big leap because it's the ocean, it's salt water. They're not used to that. They're used to lakes and creeks and swimming pools. But I was like, I want them to experience the beach. I never experienced the beach until I was an adult. And so I want, I wanted those memories. Well, we get there, and it's pouring down rain. And I was like, I want to see the ocean. I want to show the kids the ocean. So I get out there, and it's pouring down. And I looked at Shelly and said, I'm getting in. So I got out, and I jumped in the pool. And here they come, both of them running right behind me. We jumped in the pool, we jumped in the ocean and swam around a little bit, and then we ran back in the car. But yeah, they were totally okay with the ocean, and we had just a wonderful time. Yeah, I think that's my favorite memory so far.
All right. And the final question is a similar question, but I'm going to just broaden it. What's your fondest memory in your whole life?
My fondest memory in my whole life
Yes.
hasn't happened yet.
What?
My fondest memory hasn't happened yet.
Are you saying that because you don't know what's coming?
Yeah.
You know, that's a good point. I like that. I would have never thought of that.
I feel like if I look at today as my fondest memory, that today something great is going to happen, then my fondest day will never happen.
Right.
But I pursue it. And that's just like in music that I've loved music from day one, you know. That's like, I'm glad you didn't ask me what's my favorite music or what's my favorite.
Right, yeah.
Because
there's not one.
there's
so
not
much.
one.
Well, and I will say it is nice to look at that. You should live, and you hear this all the time. This is so corny, but you should live every day like it's your last. And that being said, we should really be focusing on God every day like it's our last day here.
Oh yeah.
What if we weren't following God? What if I hadn't decided to start following God? I was still living my life happy being sinful, you know, and I turn around and I had a motorcycle accident. You know, that's
Right.
the hard one people don't want to hear. You know, they're gonna be at my funeral going, he's in a better place. No, I didn't get right, so I guess I'm not. You know, and so I think it's important to, speaking of living every day as your last, to, you know, and not know what's in your future. You should remember that. This is a terrible movie to quote, but Joe Dirt, his mama was telling him, you know, is this where you want to be when Jesus comes back?
Right.
And that's some true words. If you really think, take the funny movie out of it, take the joke out of it, and say, is this where I want to be when Jesus comes back? If Jesus comes back right now, where am I going? Am I going to live with him? You know.
See, and my other saying that I like to say is, at the end of my time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to answer everything I've done. Do I want to answer this? Do
Yeah.
I want to talk about this?
Do you want to answer for it? Yeah. Well, on that same note, talking about God, Mr. David, do you want to pray us out?
Yeah. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for my precious family, my friends and loved ones. We just thank you for everything that you do, everything that you will do, and everything that you have done. In your name, amen.
Amen.